Wrapping up Macstock Conference and Expo. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by MacVoices Live, our weekly live panel discussion of what's going on in the Apple space, as well as in the larger tech world, and how it's impacting you. Join us live at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are, on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV, and participate in the chat or catch the edited and segmented versions of the show on the regular MacVoices channels and feeds. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, it's Tuesday night. It's MacVoices Live. It is 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. We're on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV, along with a bunch of our friends that we'll meet in a minute here. We've got a bunch of people in the chat room. There are hopefully more coming. We have one panelist who expects to arrive a little late tonight. But so far, we got a pretty full house. So we're just going to go around and introduce everyone and get things started. First up, Mr. David Ginsburg, as usual, looking particularly bright tonight in a yellow shirt. David, good to see you.
Good to see you. It was great to see you the last 4 days. This feels like the one day we're not even seeing each other now. So now we're seeing each other back on Zoom. But good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see. It's great to see you, and it was great to see you as well at Macstock.
Yes, along
with a number of the other people that are here tonight. Speaking of Macstock, we have Mr. Macstock himself, Mike Potter. Mike, it's good to have you here for a little bit of a Macstock wrap-up.
Is that why we're here?
One of the
Thank
reasons.
You, Chuck. I appreciate it. That's awesome. As you can tell, my voice is kind of gone right now, so I apologize for that. But I'll try to keep it clear for the few times I get on the mic.
No problem at all. We understand you had a heck of a weekend, and again we'll get to that in a few minutes.
Oh yeah, my body said, "Hey, you don't need me anymore. Macstock's over." So it's just starting to fall apart now.
Yeah. I think funny thing is, Ben Roethig, I think that my shirt is about this color of yours. For some reason, it's just showing up differently on my camera, but we're pretty much brothers in lilac.
Yes, that is the color that I'm wearing tonight.
Yeah, so that's what I was trying for, but I don't know. The camera doesn't like it for some reason.
Yeah, it looks very blue on the YouTube.
Yeah,
that's too your even in Zoom.
Your face looks kind of blue too.
Thanks.
Chuck, maybe it's your back.
Maybe it's the blue lights behind you.
Yeah, could be. Could be.
The lighting, yeah.
Brian Flanigan-Arthurs is here, returning from Macstock as well. Brian, it's good to see you, even though it seems like I just saw you yesterday.
Yes, a little more than 24 hours ago. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it seems like forever. Seems like no time at all.
Flies.
Jim Ray is here as well. We didn't get to see Jim at Macstock, but I'm awfully glad he's here tonight. Jim, good to have you.
I got to see you.
Okay.
At Macstock.
Were you on the stream?
He was on the stream.
Oh, okay, good. Well, that's good. We'll
I watched the whole thing.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Eric Bolden is here. We don't see a peach. I'm not sure what's behind him tonight. What is that, Eric?
I stopped by Anderson Japanese Gardens on the way to Macstock. So
that is
a picture from the
garden.
Those
are beautiful gardens, Eric.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah. You said you were going to make it a little bit of a garden tour coming and going, as I recall. So that's good. That's good. Mr. Webb Bixby was not able to join us because he had so many important CEO things to do, but I'm delighted that he's here tonight in a bright red shirt. Webb, good to see you.
Chuck, thank you. Good to be here. And yeah, the stream was a lot of fun. And while I did threaten that I was going to be harassing you and Jeff and all of our friends, I decided to hold back and I didn't do it. Besides, you couldn't be reading the chat from the stage, so it loses its effect. So
you just saved it all for tonight, is what you're telling me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good.
I scared Gamut off. So
Oh, I know how you can read the chat from the stage. We did it at our Geek Beat housewarming party. I'll show you guys how to do it after the show.
Okay, there's some for After Dark. That's good. Mr. Mark Fuccio is here. His background tonight looks very picturesque, very, very relaxed. Mark, good to have you.
Good to be here. It's continuing on the Sonoma theme, so it's another Sonoma image.
Very nice, very nice. Well, as I said before, when I introduced Mike, tonight we wanted to do just a little bit of a Macstock wrap up for those who were there and those who weren't. But first, Mike, congratulations on just a fantastic, fantastic conference.
Thanks, Chuck. It went amazingly well. We had every single speaker knocked it out of the park. We had the Mac Geek Cab. Dave set up this amazing caucus of folks who'd previously been on Mac Geek Cab. And of course, we had Wally's Macstock Short Film Festival. Every single one of those films. He even brought in some short films from the iPhone Film Festival, which was an amazing touch to add to what we already had. So lots of talented people out there in Macstock's, attendees and speakers alike.
I had someone ask me what my favorite presentation was for the weekend.
Oh, I couldn't pick one.
Yeah, all I could say was yes. There was nothing that felt below the standard of excellent.
Yeah, they were all amazing.
Except maybe that guy you had started up. That was the only one that worried me.
You mean me? I started it. So
yeah.
The one after me was great.
Yeah.
The one after me was fantastic, but the one who started it all, maybe not so hot.
Well, I am curious for Webb and Jim. I think Mike, I think this was the first year you had a live stream going. Am I correct about that?
Yeah. The first year of a live stream for Macstock proper. Yeah. And both Webb and Jim were in there.
Well, so guys, from your perspective, I mean, obviously it's not as good as being there, but how did the stream hold up? How was your ability to interact with other people? All those questions that we should ask, not only of just any streaming event, but also this particular one, since it was an ambitious one for Mike.
The stream was great. The video was fine. The audio was fine. It even seemed to me at one point maybe there was an audio problem in the room that wasn't a problem on the stream, because they were like, "Oh, the mic's not working," and I'm like, "Yeah, it is."
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There were a few here and there.
Yeah.
So, and even all the questioners, I had no problem hearing any of the questions that came up. So, which is, of course, often a problem. So it was great. The interaction, well, there was two problems with that for me, and one's my own fault. It was, it started at an ungodly hour as far as I'm concerned. I think it was 7 a.m. my time. So I did not
at 9 Central.
I did not manage to get up at 7 a.m. either day. But I did discover that I was able to jump on the live feed and then rewind it, so I didn't miss anything. Yeah. But that did mean any, comments I put in were, not really timely. So asynchronous. Yeah. So on Saturday I managed, and in some ways it's even better. I was able to skip through all the breaks and just tap, 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 tap. So, and I think my chair was more comfortable than it looked like the ones in the room were. And on Saturday, I did manage to get within 15 minutes of real time by the end of the day. Then on Sunday, though, I got way behind, and in fact, did not watch the last two sessions until yesterday. So, and I also couldn't find in the morning. I couldn't find the live chat. I'm not sure And I noticed I went back then later yesterday, I saw it, but there wasn't anything in it. So I'm not sure if the live chat was enabled in the morning. It was in the afternoon, but that was
Should have
okay.
been. Yeah, should have been. But I don't think you can. I don't think you can chat after the live stream ends.
Right.
It'll be there. You can review
Right.
it, but I don't
Right,
think,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't figure out how, and I'm not, it might have just been me and sleep deprivation. But anyway, it was great. Next best thing to being there. And all the sessions were great. And it was fun, like during some of the breaks or the long shots to, oh yeah, I see so-and-so over there. I see so-and-so. It would have been kind of cool to maybe have even some longer shots to get more of a sense of the room. Eric later sent me some pictures, so that was fun. But yeah, great job. That was one of the best, remote things I've seen for a conference. Very good job.
Jim, if it makes folks that may have been watching the pre-show here know that we were fighting YouTube a little bit, and I still have one window up that still does not have a chat in it. So I don't know if just whatever the part that fires up a chat is just sometimes just doesn't happen or not. I don't know. It's just interesting.
You're talking about right now?
Yeah, right now. Yeah. So it's interesting. You would say that you had that issue when I'm having exactly the same issue in one window, but open another window and it's fine. So figure it out. Maybe.
I don't know. I've always been able to get the chat working on MacVoices. It's working right now for me, but who knows?
Yeah. Webb, how about from your perspective? I did understand that you were making some commentary in the live chat, although Mike told me only after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too.
I got like first of all, the stream was solid. I didn't have any problems with the stream. I didn't have any problems with the chat dialogue on the YouTube side. So the stream itself was solid. The only thing that from a viewer, watching the stream, and the problem that you already knew that you had was any questions from the audience. People are reluctant to use their microphone, and we didn't always get to hear the questions. So sometimes you can figure out what they're asking, but that was the only downside. But that's not a production problem. That's a people problem. So I was really impressed with it. It reminded me a lot of. I don't go to a lot of Mac-oriented or shows like this. I can tell you all about actuaries and mortality if you want, but yeah, it reminded me back to the old Macworld days and some of those sessions that went on. So I really liked that. So it was fun.
Oh, wow.
I enjoyed it.
Well, thanks so much, Webb.
Good. That's great. That's great.
I really like the way you had the speaker next to the slides. That worked out really great. Yeah. And the way you had that with the background and everything was so professional. I've not ever seen that done that professionally for any remote event. So, and it really adds a lot to have the speaker, even when you're looking at the slides. It's so much nicer than just slides. Yeah.
Well, I will give full credit for that to Macstock's attendees. So what was it, the week or 2 weeks before we did the live stream to test all this stuff out? And I had two different ways of setting up the presentation. One, just the presentation by itself, and one with the speaker next to it, and had those helping me test stuff out vote on what they like better. And to a T, everyone said, leave the speaker right there on the right. And on the big screen in the theater, because we got to see in the theater, we saw what you saw. So we had a large screen up on the wall that was showing the program feed that was going out to the live stream. So folks in attendance got to see that same presentation with the speaker next to it, just like you did. And I think it worked out really, really well. Yeah. What
software and hardware and stuff did you use to put all that together?
So I give full credit for the professionalism to Ecamm Live. It's fantastic software to use for something like this. and it was running. The whole thing was running on an M2 Pro Mac Mini. So with the Mac Mini, 3 cameras in, which were Elgato Camlink 4Ks. 2 of the cameras were the, camera A and camera B, which was the 3/4 view. And then we had the third camera, which is actually the feed coming out of the laptop. So we could just bring the presentation right into eCam as well. So, yeah.
Well, that was nice too, that you had multiple cameras, and obviously somebody was running that and doing production and switching, and that added a lot to it as well.
Somebody was running it who actually knew what they were doing. Yes. And Roger, I'm going to give full credit to Roger Harmon for that. He reached out 2 days before Macstock. I had lost my volunteer who was going to run everything. And he reached out 2 days ahead and said, "Hey, I'll do it. I'm a retired, video production person. I use Ecamm Live all the time. I use it from his own live stream. He uses it for church. He used it, And I said, well, sold. Come on in. And oh my gosh, he had just such as a retired professional, he had such an innate sense of when to switch to the slides and when to switch back to the presenter. He did just a phenomenal job. Phenomenal.
He did.
Yeah, I could tell that whoever was doing the switching knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that too.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do with a relatively inexpensive computer these days.
Yeah.
To have a similar setup 10 years ago, we in GeekBeat were running a TriCaster and 4 Mac Minis to achieve that.
I remember those TriCasters, yeah.
Yeah, and that was considered pretty ahead of the curve when we did it.
They still need somebody that's paying attention and has got a little bit of a on the ball to do it. So hats off to Roger.
Yeah, absolutely. Just did a great job.
I don't want to take us down this rat hole, but I honestly kind of forgot about the TriCaster because it's been largely replaced with software now. So I'm going to have to look up out of curiosity and see what they do or how they're doing. I'm sure there's still places that a TriCaster would be absolutely essential. But like Ben said, what you can do now with what we all have on our desks pretty much is pretty staggering. So I want to turn to Brian and Eric and just ask, because am I right? You were both first-time attendees?
Well, for myself, yeah, second time for me.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you two were both second-time attendees. But you were in the audience. David and I were presenters, and so we were kind of bouncing back and forth. But how did it feel from the audience? Did it come off as well as it did? It sounds like for the stream.
It was phenomenal. The way that everything was set up to the proper volume levels in the room, to just the setup, the visually being able to see everything just fine. The way that the appropriate audience interaction, that was available. It was awesome in so many ways.
Eric, anything to add?
Yeah, it was also nice because there's just enough time in between sessions that you could get a quick question in, and then or say, hey, can I chat later or something, and then with lunch break, and then at the end of the day, the timing at both in front of the cameras and the hallway track, it was really nice. It worked really well for me.
Yeah, Mike, that was one thing that I noticed though, because we often talk about the hallway track. The fact that one speaker may not interest someone, and so there's the hallway track that is just the informal thing going on. I didn't see a whole lot of that. It seemed like there were very few hallway conversations, and that's a tribute to the speakers you picked and I guess the job they were doing. But there were one or two, but not a lot.
Yes, there were a couple that were going on. They were almost always very short. Then they came back into the main room. We had to make that kind of 11th hour switch to a new venue in late April, early May, and the new venue was smaller. But with 2 days behind us now, I really think that lent itself to this ability for people to interact and feel closer to the presenter, because I don't think anyone was more than, what, Brian, 20 feet, 25 feet, something like that from the presenter. So we're all in this close company, and it really allowed people to have the interaction that I think they hope to have with folks who are presenting, and then vice versa. The presenters wanted to have that interaction with the attendees. So from that perspective versus, the venue we've had before, where people could easily be, 75 to 100 feet away from the presenter and effectively be isolated from everyone else, we had the opposite of that here at Stage Left.
Yeah, as a presenter, I felt it was such a good immersed way of being able to interact with the audience, and you guys who were there saw it. I mean, I was just on point, getting things going, looking back and forth throughout the audience, checking things, and you got that full perspective view of it. We had the screen off to the right, so it was kind of nice to screen off to the right, because it kind of became my confidence monitor, really, because we were always so used to looking at the screen. But I was, I didn't have to look very far to look, at the screen, and I was just cranking through and getting the points across to everybody, and it just gave it, as a presenter. I say my experience there was really, really great.
And I was going to say, to add on to what was brought up about the approach of being able to ask questions, not just during the presentation, right, but the way that the venue was set up, where everyone was so approachable, where, we had those nice breaks in between, and the ability for people just to walk up and casually, comment, say, a question that didn't occur to me during the presentation, but it occurred to me now. Or there was a case of, like a follow-up, there would be a question asked, like, let me get back to you on that one. And then having it over 2 days, being able the next day to come back and say, hey, I got that answer for you. That was really cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one other thing that I've not experienced before, certainly at Macstock and maybe only once or twice other places, but it wasn't quite in the round, but it was, you had audience on left, right, and in front of you. And so that's, and I'm with David. I like that, because it definitely created a very intimate feel, that, you just had to pay attention to making sure that you were engaging with all three sides. But I love that. I thought it was great.
But then Allison had to be right in the front row, of course.
Yeah, well, that is one change you should make, Mike.
Yeah.
I will say, when Dave started to explain how he felt being up on the stage with people around him, I have to admit, the very first thing I thought of was Elvis's 68 comeback special, where he had the black leather suit on and was like on the stage at, audience level, and was, had that similar 3/4 experience as he made his comeback. Now, Dave wasn't making a comeback. Dave's been speaking at every single Macstock since the beginning. But as he described it, I pictured Dave in a black leather jumpsuit, with his fans, his adoring fans around him.
I should have put the collar up.
I want to see Dave in a black leather suit, with a little handkerchief mopping his brow.
Ooh,
I like
do a little Elvis move.
Oh yeah, that's okay. Dave, you're setting yourself up. You're asking for it.
You're now committed.
Yeah. No, not committing to that.
Mike, before you lose your voice, though, I want to make sure we're talking about this great experience, and at the risk of sounding like this is a commercial, it's not. This is informational. People can still sign up and get access to the recordings.
Oh yes. So I haven't had a chance to rename it, but essentially what was being sold as the virtual pass, what gave people the live stream, is going to be rechristened the digital pass now that Macstock is over. You get this, other than the ability to sit in live, you get the same content. So, the replay of everything. I should have everything edited and out and ready to go within 30 days after Macstock ends. In the past, has taken a little bit longer, but again, thanks to the way we did things this year, it should go much faster.
And so, how do folks go about getting access?
Oh, I should probably tell you that, huh?
Yeah, but for them, not for us. We all know.
Yeah, you can go to Macstock Conference and Expo.com or Macstockconference.com. And again, I haven't renamed anything. Hopefully, I will by the time folks hear this later or see this later, who aren't watching it live, I should say. But it will either be called the Virtual Pass right now or the Digital Pass when I actually get in and rename it. But effectively, the content is the same at this point. Yeah.
Great. Well, I love the idea because it seemed like you hit it from every angle. You hit it live, in person, live stream for those who couldn't make it, and for those who just wrong time zone or whatever, they'll be able to pick it up and see everything after the fact. The only thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Pardon me.
No, I was going to say, in the days leading up to Macstock, because this Virtual Pass was new, it was new equipment, new software. I've used Ecamm. I use Ecamm for my podcast, and I've used it for the Macstock live streams that we've done and things like that. But I've never used it in this capacity. And then with all the new equipment that we're running, the new wireless microphone system, everything was new. That was seriously the thing that was weighing on me the most was, is this virtual, stream, is this Virtual Pass going to work? And to hear Jim and Webb both say that it worked really, really well, even if there was a glitch or two, that's way beyond, I guess, my fears last week and the days leading up to Macstock. I felt really comfortable with the in-person stuff. It was our 7th year. I felt really good with that. I felt really good with how we were going to do things in-house. But the folks who are joining virtually, oh man, I was so worried for you, Jim and Webb. And yet I kept checking in on you guys throughout the day, and it looked like it was going smoothly. I would check in at least 2 or 3 times during each presenter just to see how things were going. And Roger was doing a good job staying on top of the chat room too, and answering questions, and if there was a problem, trying to take care of it. So once we got past that first day, oh man, I actually slept Saturday night. So it was a good thing. And as I told you, Chuck, Monday was the crash day. After the weekend, that's the day you just kind of go, what's on YouTube?
well, Mike, Macstock's supposed to be a learning experience, and what you learned was how to do a remote event.
Yeah, and I did. Every time I learned something new, and I learned quite a bit this time, and all very valuable skills, young man.
Mm-hmm.
Brett in the chat room says, I think the Digital Pass is a good name for it going forward. No need to rename it each year after each event.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
So, yeah. And Brett was one of the ones that we got to meet in person.
Yes, we did.
Not exactly open, not exactly directly related to Macstock, but I definitely want to also congratulate Barry Fulk for a super successful Midwest Mac BBQ.
That was awesome.
Terrific event that was held on the Thursday before Macstock. So many of our friends, so many new people, and who is it? Brian. Brian just said it in the YouTube chat. So nice to meet the people in person that you've met virtually here at the barbecue and at Macstock. So, but one thing we didn't touch on was just the informal stuff afterwards. And Mike, I'm not sure exactly how much of a hand you had in all of it, but Saturday night you sort of steered us one direction. Sunday night you sort of steered us another direction after the official conference was over, and that seemed to play really well because just about everybody went one direction or the other for at least part of the time.
Yeah. So with the, excuse me. Sorry about that. With the change in venue, that's why I put a little frog in my name. With the change in venue and asking people to travel just a little bit further, I wanted to try to get reservations at places where folks could hang after the day was over within walking distance of stage left. And so that's why we had the reservation at the restaurant DC Cobb's Saturday night. And we had just a little gathering spot at Winestock Sunday night, just to give people a place to go. You know, there is the hotel lobby at the Hampton where folks often hang out. There's the Bulldog restaurant in front of the Hampton where folks often hang out. But I thought it'd be nice to just let people walk no more than, 2.5 blocks and have a place where they can just, sit and have a good time. And I'll tell you, the folks at DC Cobb's really treated us well. They worked with me to make sure that we had enough space for everyone. When we started to overflow the space, they said, you know what, just have them sit anywhere they want to. We'll get them taken care of. And I will say, and every single place I work with says this, the Hampton says this, and DC Cobb said this to me. They said, this is just a fantastic group of people. We wish every group that we worked with was as nice to work with as the Macstock folks. And that's a testament to the community of people that we've built up over the years.
Well, that's great to hear. That's great to hear. Probably the one tip I would give to anyone coming to Macstock next year, whether you've been there or not, is to try to target make sure you get at one of the, what's the right word, Mike? Supported hotels or designated hotels or whatever.
Yeah.
Just because of the informal interactions and that usually are the later night interactions. I think I stayed downstairs until around 11 both nights and then decided to head up. And I know that I was among the early departers. Some of them stayed quite late.
I departed
or early
too.
Or early. I felt bad for Martine and Brett and Ian. They were up, and I think Martine was a walking zombie by the time he finally went up to bed. But we always do that on Sunday night. We always hang out in the lobby of the. Well, first the Bulldog kicks us out.
Bulldogs.
That's step one. We're closing. They start flashing the lights and say, we don't care where you go, but you can't stay here. And then the nice thing is they can just walk right over to the Hampton, and that's where we hang out afterward. And the last two to walk out the lobby doors were Corky and I. And then he and I were outside talking for at least another 45 minutes to an hour. So I actually got home at 4:00 Monday morning after Macstock. So that's pretty usual for Sunday night / Monday after Macstock for me anyway.
Wow.
That's probably why I lost my voice.
It probably didn't help. Yeah. And Mike, there's so many little things, and forgive us, folks, if this is a little bit inside baseball, but I think it's important to give you a sense of just how great the conference was, how great the people are, not just the speakers, but the attendees as well. But Mike, you had Canada represented, you had Australia represented,
UK, Netherlands.
Netherlands, yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing how far people come from Macstock. And I made one of the people who came from overseas across the pond was first time Macstock attendee. And I made a very pointed effort. I try to do this with everyone who's new. And if I miss somebody, I'm so terribly sorry. But I did make a pointed effort to seek her out and just make sure that she was having a fantastic time. And she had a good time. She had a good time, and I'm so glad of that. And Ian made a great time of it, and is still on holiday as far as I know. And of course, Martine always has a great time. Martine's a regular at Macstock.
Yep. Yeah, she even made it to Barry's barbecue too.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, that's where I got to talk to her, and fascinating lady. Fascinating lady with what she's doing.
Fantastic group of people all around.
Mike, I had someone ask me, and I've wondered, but I'll do it anyway. I mean, you don't have any dates for next year yet, do you?
No, I don't. I don't. Very often I do. In past years, BC. What would happen is a week or two before the Macstock would take place, I would set up the next year's dates with the conference center. But I'm not really sure of anything at this point. So generally we're around the same time, but I have a couple different ideas of what we can do with Macstock this year. And it just kind of depends on those ideas and how they play out, whether it's held the same weekend or maybe a weekend before or a weekend after, something like that. So yeah, no, I don't have dates yet.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you do, or when you have any information, we want you to come back. All you have to do is just let me know that you have something you want to talk about, and we'll get you on here and help spread the word, because it is such a fantastic event. We can't thank you enough as a community for what you've put together and how you do it and how much effort you put into creating just a fantastic experience.
Well, and I mean, you said it just now in a roundabout way, but the thanks really go to the community. The thanks go to the speakers and the volunteers and the attendees. That's really the heart of what makes Macstock what it is. And I'm just so thankful for everyone who comes back year after year and those who come for the first time. Those first timers. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Those first timers often become regulars who attend then again and again in the future. So yeah, just such fantastic people and always willing to step up. We have our regular volunteers, and then I'm continually overrun by folks who come up at the start of the weekend or in the days leading up to and say, how can I help? I want to help. I want to make sure that this is a successful weekend for everyone. And that's the community we've built. So amazing. So amazing. It means the world to me.
Yeah. Well, Mike, you're part of the panel here, aside from Macstock, so you're more than welcome to stick around. If you feel the need to head out and get some tea or something for your throat, that's fine too. But absolutely stick around if you can. Yeah. Well, that's what you say is in there. I'm not quite sure. Hearing that you got home at 4 a.m, but anyway.
I
Long
promise.
Long Island.
No. Actual, actual tea this time.
Next time on MacVoices, the panel shifts gears and starts looking at the changes we're seeing in the social media landscape. They include the arrival of brands on Meta's Threads social network and Twitter going X-rated. Sort of. That's next time on MacVoices. I will see you then. As always, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.